So welcome back to week 2 of the free flowing currents of currency experience. And it is Tuesday. It is 5 o'clock. And as I was just saying before I started to do the recording, it is a challenging time for people. And that's okay. This doesn't have to be done at this time in terms of for you specifically, but we're capturing this energy in the 8 of vibration of 1700 hours. And that serves you, believe it or not, in small ways, but still it serves in ways to support where we are and what we're learning. So last week we challenged, we introduced ourselves to the concept of energy that money is, and I asked everybody and challenged everybody to start looking for the leaks and the beliefs that you have. 8 leaks, 8 beliefs, just to see where you are, and to kind of bring to your awareness some of the things that you may or may not have necessarily noticed about how you feel about money and what you think about it. And it's not, again, as we said last week, what you necessarily just think about it. It's definitely about how you feel, right? That's what's being vibrated out of you, and that is what's being responded to by the universe. So bear with me 1 second here. I'm just going to try and attempt to work this so that I can get everybody here that wants to be here. Forgive me. 1 second here. So, okay, there we are, back again. So Tuesdays are action days, and I challenged everybody to start as soon as we get off the call, to go ahead and take action with your world and to take action with this experience, because these are the things that we have to do in order to bring about the change in our financial situation or in the currency that is flowing and that we are flowing with. And so I don't know about you, but I had a lot of aha moments when I started really thinking about my beliefs about money and my leaks and what kinds of things, I found myself thinking about as I was going about my day that actually had a lot to do with value and worth and in relation to, where I was in my own world. So I'm sure that probably happened to a lot of you as well. And that's the most important part to note, because those aha moments are where you're going to find your resolutions, and that's where you're going to find the opportunity and the place to shift that you're going to be able to shift. So this week, and we have 2 weeks actually until our next call. We have a call next week, of course, but then we have a week in between now, excuse me, today's the 19th, isn't it? Oh my goodness, today's the 19th already. This is the second week. See how fast things go. Okay, wait. So, but
next week we're off, I think. Next week we're off.
Next week we're off, and then we're back on the 2nd of January.
2nd of January.
Yeah, absolutely. So hold on 1 second here. I just realized this is not working like I thought it was going to work. This is not going to let me do this. Sorry. Okay, so this week, what we're going to do, this week we're going to implement very simple, very easy, how do I put it? Practical techniques. Now, 20 some odd years ago, 25 years ago, 20 years ago, we'll say, when I was just recognizing the power of our thoughts, I was actually taking my hypnotherapy certification. And I really started to recognize, because it's that particular field where the thoughts, the beliefs, all of that stuff, that matters. That's huge. That's where it's really started to hit home with me with things. And what I found was one of the things that really made a big impact was watching my vocabulary, watching the words, watching not just my inner dialogue, but the things I said all the time. And I spoke about, writing down some of these beliefs we had about, old sayings and old adages like, money doesn't grow on trees and things like that. But it's more also now about recognizing words of lack, limitation, restriction, um, constrainment, all of these kinds of things, and contraction even. These kinds of words are very easily in our vocabulary, and we don't have to think about it or know about it. We don't recognize it or become aware of it until we start to look for it. So one of the things that I found as I was, learning through the power of words and things like that with hypnotherapy was my teacher at the time, a wonderful lady, Debbie Papadakis. I'll never forget her. Um, she said she spoke of a story that she had learned from her teacher, and that was exactly that, was recognizing the words of lack that keep you in vibrational spaces that you don't really want to be in. And you don't even think about it because we're so conditioned, we're programmed, whatever. So her perfect example, which I always seem to come back to because it's very relative, was that, she was somewhere with her teacher at the time, and they were having a conversation about something that they were looking at and wanted to purchase. And she asked her, do you have enough money? Yeah. And that was a concept. So that's fine. That's a good question. Do you have enough money? Right. I have enough money was the answer that came back from my teacher to her teacher. And she said, that's great. But one of the things that she's brought to her attention was the fact that that concept of enough always kept her in just enough. And so what she answered, and when my teacher turned and said, well, what do you have enough money? She says, I always have plenty of money, plenty of money. The concept and the difference of just those very simple words, being in a place of having enough money versus being in a place of having plenty of money. So one of the other examples I often use when I first moved to the house I live at now was about 17 or 18 years ago now, and we had a woodshed that didn't have any wood in it, and we had a bigger house to heat now, and we always use wood. And my husband said, I got to get wood in the woodshed. We got to get wood in the woodshed. We don't have any wood in the woodshed. And I said to him, maybe not at the moment, but we have plenty of wood in the woodshed. No, we don't. We have any wood in the woodshed. I'm like, we have plenty of wood in the woodshed. I'm trying to work it out with him. He's not getting it. I don't see any wood. There's not a stick of wood in the woodshed, Brenda. I'm like, honey, go with me, run with this, right? Like there's plenty of wood. But I have to say, putting it out there like that opened up the channels. And it wasn't very long, maybe a few days. And we had already connected with the supply of wood, and the delivery was on its way. And it wasn't very long after that I looked at him and said, see, honey, plenty of wood in the woodshed, plenty of wood in the woodshed. Well, he's used to that kind of stuff from me, but still, that's the point. And yes, there was work involved. Yes, there was a connection. It didn't just show up at my door and drop, get dropped in the driveway and miraculously get stacked in the woodshed. There was some effort, but the effort was not a struggle. The effort was not a toil. The effort was an alignment that came that allowed for the resolution or the outcome that I had asked for, really and truly and simply. So the 8 techniques that I'm going to give everybody here tonight are very simple, but the concept, which is also simple, isn't carried out very easily sometimes. And I have to say that truthfully, because it is a constant conscious effort for a little while. We often talk about people who make huge successes of themselves in business or in whatever it is they're doing. And whenever it is you make a big success of yourself, there's generally a component or several components that go along with that. And that is that you eat, sleep, and breathe what it is you're doing. And while that's great, ultimately, the reason they have to do that is so that vibration is consistent. That's all they're thinking about. That's all they're eating. It's all they're consuming. It's all they're breathing. It's all they're being. And while that certainly, serves them, a lot of times the people around them, are not the focal point and therefore not necessarily receiving the attention or the energetic response that they might be looking for. So the balance is the challenge that I find personally I'm a family mom, so I have a husband and a child at home. He's older, but still have three in the home. I have a dog and a cat. There's a lot of people looking for, stuff to come from me and me to do this, that, or the other thing, and that's fine. But me being in the space of doing all of those things at the same time as managing my vibration and being consciously aware of it at all times so that I can catch myself when I might be feeling or slipping into a lower vibrational space, it's a little more challenging. And those of us who are here on this call, in more cases than not, are going to find that that's their experience too. And that's okay. That just means that we just have to be a little bit better at it. And the reason that we are in those situations and even aware that we can be in a situation and still attempt to work on this kind of stuff is because we are the masters who already know we can do it. We just are. We already know we've done it in some future timeline, in some future space or dimensional reality, whatever it may be, however you believe or whatever you think, you've already done it. You've already gotten over this. And this is all hindsight. So trust me when I tell you, you do have to be consciously putting an effort in, a constant conscious effort for a little while. But once you get that going on, and as long as you can maintain it and not slip out of it, you'll do fine. You'll do fine. So the 8 simple techniques that we're going to talk about tonight that go along with the 8 beliefs and the 8 leaks that you may have discovered for yourself are practical, but they take a bit of effort in terms of the constant conscious effort of it. So you're going to need to think about these things. So let's see. I wrote a whole bunch of pages down here. So very, very simply, and you're going to grab your journals and write this stuff down. One thing we can certainly all afford to pay is attention. Attention. It's extremely important. And because it's free, and we can all afford to do it and have it and be it, it certainly is something worth investing in, right? Paying attention to your thoughts, to who you're around, to what's going on in your world. So the first thing we're going to do on this brain train experience, because that's what we're needing to do here, is to train our brain for a little while. And that's why we're doing this over 28 days, which is technically going to be a 21-day train. Okay, it takes 21 days to implement, to break an old habit and to implement new ones. And so that's what we're working on here. So the first week, last week, of course, was all about the information. This week is going to be about the implementation over the next couple of weeks, as you recognize and as you really start to play with these techniques and these applications, you're going to notice something. You're going to notice something. And by the time we meet on the 2nd of January, after you've had an extra week in there, you'll find things have shifted, things have changed, and it's because of your constant conscious effort for a little while. I have to tell you, when I was first doing hypnotherapy, I laugh when I think about this. I still do all these years later, but that was my thing, constant conscious effort. If I tell you, back then I thought it was in the zombie apocalypse back then, because all I ever saw from my family, and I had an older son at home at the time, were the whites of their eyes. That was it. Every time I'd say that, they just all glaze over. Glaze right over. I was learning hypnotherapy. They weren't interested in learning hypnotherapy. They didn't care about their thoughts. They weren't thinking about any of that stuff. They just weren't. And here I was coming in here with all this newfound stuff that I'd found out, all these things I was wanting them to start learning and thinking for themselves. But I can tell you, 20 years later, all I have to do is start talking about it. And they're like, we know, Mom, constant conscious effort. And they can joke and they can smirk and they can do all those things. But that's a seed that was planted. And they'll always know now how they can change their world, how they can shift their world, how they can shift their thoughts, their beliefs, and their reality based on that constant conscious effort, because it really doesn't take very long. We see how fast time flies. For some of us, it flies very, very quickly. Some of us it's dragging along, but for a lot of us, it's flying, which means that the 21 days it takes you to break up an old habit or a thought or a belief, and the 21 days to implement that new one, that's going to go by very quickly. And you'll be amazed, absolutely amazed at how fast your world will shift and change, because the energies are now aligned in a way that is magnetically going to pull them all to you, because of the new thoughts you're thinking, because of the elevated vibration you're holding. Because if you've looked at the scale of consciousness, you'll see that if you're no longer sitting below 0 point and you're a higher vibration, more things are going to work out. So first thing we're going to do, number one technique on your new brain training, every single day, and I speak of like filling yourself with light and breathing into your body and bringing in the light through the breath. I also teach people how to, you know, affirm for yourself the highest possible outcome, things like that. We're going to give some affirmations here as well. But the creating of a bubble for yourself so that your space is ensured as sacred for yourself. We have to always make sure that those are just regular, everybody got to do it kind of techniques. I absolutely encourage everybody to do that. That can really make a huge impact in your day in terms of how well you go through it and how well you navigate it. So again, first thing is put a bubble of protection around yourself. Second thing is to acclaim for yourself the highest possible outcome of the day, or to affirm for yourself the highest possible outcome. And the third thing, of course, is again the breathing and the bringing in the light for yourself. Fill your body full of light, for heaven's sake. You're a light being. My goodness, be bright and shiny. Lord knows we all need it. And that's just like I said, those first three things are very easy. Here's the first technique you're going to learn to work with. Invite every single day after you've done all those wonderful things into your day, your life, and your world, the spirits of prosperity, freedom, money, abundance, and joy. Oh, you can add love and anything else you want in there. But it's important that you invite the spirits of these energies to be with you. We have to recognize we live in a cosmos that is governed by rules that we don't necessarily know about. Most of us don't know about the laws of the universe, or that, things are going. We think about time and gravity and stuff like that. But that's not what I'm talking about here. We're talking about Hermetic principles. And the law of attraction is one of the Hermetic principles. There are 7 Hermetic principles that you can find yourself engaged with. And those 7 Hermetic principles form the basis and the construct, really, of our experience here energetically. So you have in there, the first rule, of course, is that everything is mental. Everything is a thought. Every single thing is a thought. Second is a vibration. And there's correspondence, which means that what you're thinking about goes out, and there's a relative experience happening in the above spaces, so to speak. These things matter. But ultimately, the one thing that everybody does seem to know about, but doesn't necessarily recognize where it comes from, is the law of attraction. Everybody talks about the law of attraction. Everybody thinks that you can just think about something and then boom, it comes to you. Well, that's technically, the concept, sure. But there is a lot more involved. And if you're not aware of the vibrations you hold as you're thinking that thought, then what you're attracting to you might not be what you want. Might not be what you want. So we want to invite these beautiful spirits in because we want them here with us in our day, right? We want to attract in prosperity. So we have to start thinking with prosperity. We have to start thinking of thoughts of freedom, things like that. Thinking of, abundance. Now, abundance is a wonderful thing. Now, a lot of people think, oh, I want abundance, I want abundance, I want abundance. Yeah, of course we do. When do you want abundance? When you're in a way that in a position rather, or in a some sort of capacity to enjoy it properly and appropriately for what you're looking for. But I can tell you, if you don't have any money, you don't want abundance necessarily coming at you in a way that is just willy-nilly. You want to be direct and clear about what abundance you're looking for, because you could have an abundance of bills show up and you might not be so happy with that. If you don't have the abundance of money to cover the abundance of bills that shows up, then you may have a trouble. You might not be so happy that you called that to your experience. We have to be aware. We have to be considerate of all of the things so that we're very clear with what our intentions are. There isn't a whole bunch of people or beings up in this space that is out there sitting at a table deciding for us what it is that we want, right? Oh, well, this is what she's ordered, and I think it really means this. And well, she doesn't really specifically say what it is she's looking. They're not doing that. You got to be the one. When things don't show up for you, it's because you're scrambled. Your energy's not aligned, or it's not timing, or whatever it is. There's always a reason for everything. I truly know that. And so we have to be very consciously aware of what we're attracting to us. So that's kind of why I also spoke last week about the no part. The universe doesn't really understand no so much. accept as a statement, right? As a no. That's a more of a physical thing for people. No, I'm not doing that, or no, we're not going there, whatever. The universe doesn't really recognize that, because what your no is about is what the universe is thinking. That's what it's hearing. It's what it's feeling. It's vibration. No, I don't want that. Well, what is it you don't want? That's what's coming, because that's the amplified vibration. We want to be clear. So the thoughts we think about, the words we're using, like enough and, lack words and lack mentality and all that stuff, that matters too, because that's going to attract to you the vibration that you feel connected to the word with. Make sense? So it's really important to recognize as that everything is energy, that you can then attract and invite energetic consciousness to you. So that's where you're going to invite the spirits of prosperity, freedom, joy, abundance, money, all of those things that you want, love, happiness. Here's a key. I'm going to throw this in as a little, I always tell people, find your happy. Sit down and really think about what your happy is, because more often than not, your happy is a completeness and a feeling of content. When you're content, chances are really good. Your bills are paid, life is good, all things are happening, working out for you, because then you can be happy. Now, we are not supposed to be happy conditionally, meaning that everything's got to work out first for us to be happy. We're supposed to be happy first so everything works out. That's the key. And that's what we're working on here. You have to be prosperous. You have to be in that vibration of awareness of your prosperity. If you think about it, you are an incredibly prosperous being. The fact that you get up every single day, breathe air, eat food, move through life, in this wonderful, incredible design that is the body that we run around in, that's pretty amazing and rather a miracle. And so, in that way, you're a miracle, which means miracles should be able to flow through you, right? To you, for you, with you, because of you. All of that matters. All of that matters. So, when you think about those things, prosperity and all those things, that's going to segue you into the next technique, because you're gonna find yourself looking around your world and finding things you can be grateful for. The attitude of gratitude is incredibly powerful. When you're in a place where you're not feeling something, if you can get yourself to a place of gratitude in relation to that, so however that plays out for you, it could be a lot worse, right? There's one of those sayings we all know, it could be a lot worse. Yeah, it could be. And sometimes that helps you feel better. Okay, maybe I don't feel so bad now. Maybe I don't. That's great. We want the attitude of gratitude, because gratitude has been known to literally be a life changer. It is a shifter of our vibration in a way that really can lift you up out of a place and into some place new completely. Now, the thing with gratitude that I also always keep in mind with people and remind them is, while it's great if you don't have any, right? You've got to get a little gratitude going on. Once you get that, you're going to balance it a little bit. But if you think about gratitude and what you're feeling, the key to gratitude is this: it's the tipping point. It's the tipping point for the polarity. It pulls you up out of a negative and into a positive. However, it contains both. So you're always going to be aware of both that vibration, and very easily can sometimes slip if you're not careful. And I don't want that to sound like, oh, it's all poo-poo. It's not. What we're saying is that you've got to be constantly conscious aware. You've got to put that effort in there. So in that gratitude space, I tell people, great. Once you've got a hold of gratitude, then reach for appreciation. Let gratitude be your bridge, right? It pulls you up out of one space. Appreciation takes you into a whole other level. Appreciation is all about the love stuff. You've passed and surpassed the I'm not here anymore. The gratitude is great because, again, it's the tipping point, right? It takes you from where you were to where you want to be. Fabulous, incredibly powerful. But if you really want to get higher than that, you move into the appreciation, because then you don't have to even think about where you were. You're not there anymore. You're just totally in the space that you are now, and you're loving every second of that. That's incredibly powerful. Incredibly powerful. So life is good is a wonderful thing to, to start with on your paper when you're when you're writing a gratitude journal. There's lots of stuff to be grateful for, people. Lots of stuff to be grateful for. Um, and you got to start. You got to start. Just a few minutes a day is also very much a brain training for us. So, next thing, technique number 3 leads you into, excuse me, technique number 2 leads you into number 3, which is about affirming your value and your worth. So now that you can be in a place of appreciation, you're recognizing that you never didn't deserve to be in a place of appreciation with the things around you and the things you love. And I'm not talking about conditional living. Oh, I have a wonderful